Hey, it's Lindsay at StillWaters Ranch, and here are 6 plants that you should plant today. You can plant these plants just about any time of year and they will thrive. Trust me, I am not the greatest gardener in the world, and if these plants thrive with my garden, they will thrive in yours. Starting at number 6 is the pepper plant. All types of peppers grow so well. They grow in pots, they grow in your garden beds, they love to grow. They grow with a lot of water, and they can withstand not having a ton of water or being in a really hot climate. When we were moving a few years back, I had a pepper plant in a pot, and I just had the goal of bringing the pot with us to our new house. And so I just put the whole pot and pepper plant in storage, and it lasted in storage for about 2 months with no water and barely any sunlight in the storage. And so if that can survive there, it can survive in your garden. Plant a pepper plant today. Okay, the 5th plant that you should absolutely plant are zinnias. All of these flowers came up from seed, and these grow best in spring and summertime, and they'll grow throughout the entire summer. These came up from seed, and the perfect thing about zinnias is that the more you cut them, the more flowers they produce. So this is just a handful of seeds, a handful of stems. I've been cutting them at the node, and then they produce 2 stems. I'm trying to find one. They will produce 2 stems off of 1 plant. So like this guy is going to grow another bud out here as this one buds. So the more you cut, the more they love it, the more flowers you get. And these are so fun to have in vases around your house, to give to friends, and just to have fresh cut flowers. Plus, they make your garden look super pretty. Okay, the 4th plant that I really recommend growing in your garden is kale. We are in the heat of the summer here in Texas, and this kale is still growing. Kale will grow through our winter, our spring, our summer, and our fall. The only time I pull kale is when it gets too tall, I've harvested too much of it, and it starts to bolt. But that is really just the timing of the plant rather than the full season. I planted this plant a few, 4 or 5 months ago, and I've been harvesting off of it ever since. I love this in my smoothies, in my omelets, sauteed up as a side vegetable with some meat. Kale is awesome. It just keeps producing. The only hard thing about kale, and why I have it at number 4 and not a little bit higher, is that the caterpillars tend to love it. So those springtime caterpillars definitely flock to your garden to get this kale, and that's a little hard to manage. You might see some bug bites, and then it might be time to pull the kale for that season and restart. Number 3 that I love is parsley. I planted this early spring here, maybe February in Texas, just as we are still really cold, but we weren't getting a freeze anymore. And this will grow all through the fall. This is also one of those plants that loves to be cut. So I can cut a few stems here just off the edge, and it'll just grow back and keep on growing from the middle. So the more you cut, the more it loves it. It also can be in full sun, or it can be under my tomato plant and pepper plant here, and it just thrives in between things or on its own. It's also an amazing pest control plant. So I love having this throughout my garden. I've got about 5 parsley plants. I use them all the time to season things on chicken, on meat, as a little chimichurri sauce. Love having fresh herbs in the garden, and parsley is definitely one of them. Okay, number 2 plant, we're getting close to the top, that I love is going to be chives. Chives grow like wildfire. These started with a tiny little sprout of chive. You can also start them from seed, and they go crazy. Here in Texas, in Garden Zone 8B, they grow pretty much year round. We don't get a ton of frost, but they can grow through a little bit of frost. They grow in the heat of the summer, and they grow in cool climates as well. So they're perfect for our zone. Chives also love to be cut, and they grow. You can even take this whole ponytail here, slice here, and this whole plant will grow back. I love using chives as a topping on potatoes, on summertime vegetables. I also love sauteing them up a little bit in my omelets and my breakfast with my kale. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, chives are awesome. They also make a fantastic sauce. If you do a little sauce for your beef or your fish or your chicken, they're great in a sauce. So plant chives today. They will grow like crazy, and you can harvest and cut them as much as you want. Okay, the number one spot goes to basil. Basil is my absolute favorite plant to grow. It's the easiest, I think, to grow, and I think you can use it in so many ways. It's so versatile. Basil for us is a spring and summer plant. As it starts to cool down in September, October, the basil will start to go to seed and start to bolt. The beautiful thing about basil going to seed is that it will re-sprout next spring. So if you let your basil go to seed at the end of the season, I cut my seeds off in the middle of the season, but if you let your basil go to seed towards the end of the season, you leave those seeds, you know, kind of around where your basil was, you weed that after your last frost, your basil will come back on its own. You can grow basil for years and years and years off of one seed. You can also grow basil and give to your friends. So if I cut a pretty good sprout off here, took the leaves off the stem and put it in a vase with a little water on the end until it starts to root, you can plant that in the ground and it will grow. You can propagate it so easily. You can grow it by seed so easily. You can grow it in a garden bed. You can grow it in a pot. Anywhere it will grow. I also love to use it. I obviously love it for pesto, but I also love it on top of pizza, on top of sandwiches, obviously with fresh tomatoes. I will freeze it in little olive oil cubes for the fall to use it in soups and stews and sauces. Basil is my absolute favorite. I harvest so much during the year, and I grow it every single summer and spring. I also grow different types of basil. So this is just your basic Genovese basil. Over here is going to be kind of a Thai basil. Delicious. Smells so good. And then I have a purple basil. And I have another variety of Italian basil. So I grow all sorts of basils. I love growing them. Add them to your garden. If you're liking this video and you like what I produce, please subscribe and like this video. It helps me so much to continue to make content for you guys, which I love doing, but it just helps to get that feedback that y'all are enjoying it too. Also, please let me know if you try these plants and how they go. I want your garden to be successful just like mine is. I'm not the best gardener. I don't pretend to be an expert, but I do enjoy showing what works for me and what I think will work for you as well.